boxing.
Beats and rhymes.
No one can do it better.
Hussein Kinkara was ruled out with an injury and had to abort his challenge for Jai Opetaia's IBF Cruiserweight title. And this wasn't no cherry pick, no voluntary. Kinkara, I've never seen him fight, as far as I know, was a mandatory defense #1 IBF contender. In stepped David Nyika, late substitute. This was always going to be risky. I mean, he had 3 weeks to prepare to face the 27-0, 21 inside the distance, defending his title for the 5th time, Jai Opetaia. It's an opportunity you can say you can't pass up. But once your decision is made, your decision is made. If you pass it up, you could wonder for the rest of your life, what if? Then you've got to consider, at 10-1-0, Jai's got double the amount of knockouts as he has had fights. And we could talk about the height and reach advantage that Nyika had. He looked like he was built out of marble. Nyika had a tremendous physique, upper body, strong legs, 6'6", 78-inch reach, and he seemed to have took heart, David, from the sparring sessions they had. And it's funny, when they went at it in the face-off, Jai was telling him that you're going to move, or you're going to move around the ring. You're not going to stand in the ring center and bang with me. And he was goading David, and it seemed to work.
The first round was pretty intense, and then I wasn't expecting him to come so aggressively. And then after the first round, I thought, here we go, he's going to start boxing. He just kept coming forward, man. That's what happens.
Both men are 29 years of age, but Jai has the greater pro experience. There's no comparison resume to resume. And he won that little kidology battle, didn't he? And I'm not sure if David Nyika could have done anything different anyway, because I heard he had a leaky defense. And like I said, 3 weeks isn't much time to get a strategy going. And the obvious thing for me is you shouldn't have been trading so early. Even with the success he had, he shouldn't have been trading so early. But he showed his physical strength, bullying Jai to the ropes. Jai was prepared for everything. He fought off the ropes brilliantly, managing to find a room even when he was crowded to get counters off. And the crowd was into this one early. The Gold Coast Convention Center, Broad Beach, the Battle of the Aussies. Perhaps it came too soon for David Nyika. I'm sure he would have been compensated very well. In the second round, when Jai landed that overhand left, I think he expected Nyika to fall over. Jai's used to seeing people fall over when he lands like that, with his power punches. Nyika took the shot and come back with his own left hand, which Jai acknowledged after he caught me with a good shot. And he hurt Jai. The bell rung, and by the third round, Jai was in his groove, finding his range, looking very menacing, and you could sense the danger, any angle or any hand, right or left. There was one stage where Jai landed a shot. Nyika tried his best to cover up. It looked like he was looking to see where Jai was. He didn't know where he was. He was discombobulated. It was a bad place to be. And in the fourth round, Jai landed them 2 right uppercuts. David hit the canvas. He was definitely hurt. The technique was impeccable, especially the first one. Corkscrew-shaped punch. Early on, Jai threw some wild power shots that missed, but now one particular right hook caught David Nyika by the ropes and hurt him really bad. The left hand that landed was just, extra highlight footage. He was done. Slept. Face first on the canvas.
Face down on the pavement.
His arms went limp by the side of his torso with the wrist turned up. And I've seen that before. It's obviously some brain trying to recalibrate and reset itself. Nyika was on the canvas and he didn't move for a while. It was a little worrying, but he got up eventually. He left the ring on his feet, walking back to the changing rooms, but he was clearly still unsteady. Assisted by his corner, he walked back to his changing room. So, the proud man, let's hope he's all right. Put up a great battle. Now we turn our attention towards Gilberto Ramirez. Golden Boy versus Matchroom. You're under the same wing. You're both signed to Riyadh season. Do we get that fight this year is the question. Jai called for it. Now we need to see what Oscar De La Hoya is saying. Eddie said that Oscar is watching closely. I don't think they want the fight. Not saying Zerdo doesn't do better than David Nyika. I believe he will do better than Nyika. But I don't think they want that at this moment. I really don't. You know, Virgil Ortiz as an interim strap at 154, and you've got Oscar Collazo at minimum weight. He's a world champion. But outside Oscar and Zerdo, what other champions do they have amongst the men? Zerdo was one of the prized possessions at Golden Boy. And it might come down to that term you might see me use a lot this year. Saudi bag. Let's get that money up. That Saudi money up and get both of them in the ring. Zerdo has 2 straps. And I was saying during the hangout, we can see why Ben Shalom kept Billiam Smith away from Jai Opetaia. He just wouldn't fare well against that style at all. It would be an awful fight for Chris Billiam Smith. But Zerdo is a good boxer, has a very good chin. I see that being a very competitive fight. Zerdo versus Jai Opetaia.
But my question is to you now, is there anyone that can touch you now in the cruiserweight division in the world?
Ramirez, I'm coming for the belts. We're coming for those rest of the belts, man. We're coming for them.
Boxing.
Beats and rhymes.
No one can do it better.
Matchroom heavyweight prospects. Johnny Fisher from Romford, United Kingdom. He had his first taste of reality on that Usyk Fury undercard against Dave Allen. He does look a little gimmicky. And aside from Johnny, Matchroom haven't really invested in much up-and-coming heavyweight talent. Some would argue that Frank Warren has snatched it all up over Queensbury. Eddie Hearn probably has regrets that he didn't tie down the likes of Fabio Wardley to something more permanent rather than the fight-by-fight arrangement they had, which suited Fabio fine, and now he's signed a deal to Queensbury to bolster up Frank's stable even more. Eddie Hearn and Matchroom have actually invested pretty heavily in the Oceania, Australian heavyweight market. Dempsey McKean, however, has lost his last 2, and the last was a really heavy defeat on that Usyk Fury undercard. And he's got Justice HUNI, 12-0, 7 inside the distance. He won on Jai Opetaia's undercard, as did TEREMOANA, who's 6-0 with 6 inside the distance. If we're just taking a quick glance to see who has the most potential out of HUNI and TEREMOANA, well, you'd obviously say TEREMOANA, 6'6", 6 fights, 6 knockouts, had a decent amateur pedigree, would be the pick. But, you know, HUNI, 6'4", I didn't realise he was that tall. Not a huge puncher. He's a good boxer. He puts his punches together pretty well. On the Jai Opetaia undercard, he showed a good 2-handed attack. He won in the second round against a South African opponent. TEREMOANA, he wasn't in no mood to hang around. He ended his fight with a couple of heavy-looking punches in the first. The jury's still out. They look like decent heavyweights, but the jury is still out. Australia have never really produced in the heavyweight division, and Joseph Parker is not Australian. He's a New Zealander. The best heavyweight Australia probably produced is Joe Bugner, and he's a Pommy reject, isn't he? So the Aussies be looking for a homegrown talent to bring a heavyweight title back to their shores. HUNI, like I said, I didn't realise he was 6'4", and maybe it's just his body type. He looks like the type of guy who could lose a couple of pounds and probably get down to cruiser or bridgerweight. He weighed in at 241 against Sean Potgieter, the South African. TEREMOANA, his dimensions are probably more favourable to the modern-sized heavyweight, although I shouldn't say that because Usyk is smaller than HUNI and currently reigns as the heavyweight champion of the world. But like I say, jury's out. Jury's still out.
Boxing.
Beats and rhymes.
No one can do it better.
Talking of that platform, DAZN, you've made the decision now to sign with DAZN, leaving TNT, moving over to DAZN in April, I believe it is? April, yeah. Is it competition or is it teamwork with Matchroom now? How does that dynamic work between you two?
Competition. Always be about competition. And working together, there's no problem with that because the working together has created fights that are competitive and fights that maybe have never got made. We're at DAZN to be the top promoters on DAZN. We're not going to DAZN to make up numbers. That's why we're there. We will put on the best shows.
Frank firing warning shots at Eddie Hearn. Firing warning shots. Frank saying, you've been eating good on that DAZN buffet table, Eddie. But from now, you don't eat until me eat. Because Eddie's used to being the big dog's bollocks over there, and Oscar's never liked it, and Frank certainly ain't going to satisfy with playing second fiddle to Eddie Hearn. So the egos are going to clash hard, and as amicable and as nice as it's been, yeah, Eddie, we're making fights, yeah, Frank, we're making fights. This is what we need. We need Eddie to get pushed. Oscar hasn't been pushing Eddie. He's been making his stupid clap back nonsense and all this other stupid crap he gets into. And now he himself, better mind you don't get pushed out now Frank's coming over there. I like Frank's energy. Yeah, bring it to Eddie. What we need is situations like this where they're all under pressure to outdo each other. And that means working together, whether it's Golden Boy versus Queensbury, Queensbury versus Matchroom, any way you want to mix and match them. This is what you as a boxing fan should be saying, yes, this is where boxing needs to be. A lot of people are saying Frank is the better promoter out of him and Eddie. Eddie still has more world champions. What Eddie needs to start doing is producing British world champions. He has no British world champions. I believe Sonny Edwards, after losing to Bam last year, was the last of Eddie's British world champions, male world champions. Frank still has Kakache, Diggity Daniel Dubois, and Nick Ball. Eddie's got Jai Opetaia, he's got Bam Rodriguez, he's got Shakur Stevenson, Boots Ennis, Richardson Hitchens. I don't know what the criteria is. If it's the 5 versus 5, then Frank Warren wins, but who's produced more world champions? Eddie's still in front.
Boxing.
Beats and rhymes.
No one can do it better.
When we make those decisions, I'm not guaranteeing you a unification. I'll do everything I can to make one, but this is a bird in the hand scenario. The Ortiz fight is there now. The TEOFIMO fight is a poor offer anyway, but that's there if we want to try and make it. It wasn't an appalling offer, but it was less money than he made to fight DAZN, pretty much. So, I don't know what they're going to do top rank with TEOFIMO.
Eddie, like all promoters, gives you the side of the story he wants to give you. So, Bob Arum said a Teofimo Lopez Boots fight would be a dual promotion, meaning they'd ante up the money for Teofimo and Matchroom would ante up the money for Boots. So I'm trying to work out why his purse would be less for Teo than it was a Shukadson fight. Like, Teo is not a big draw, there's no demand for box office for Teo or none of that, but if you're saying he gets more for Shukadson than he does Teofimo Lopez, then you're probably overpaying Boots for fights against Shukadson, Avanesian. You're probably overpaying him. But then again, I'm not crunching the numbers. Apparently Boots versus Stanionis is in negotiation and Hearn said he hopes to get the fight made. What is the priority here? Is it the money or the legacy of the fight? Does a Stanionis fight draw much more than a Teofimo Lopez fight? Obviously, the unification is what Boots said he wanted, but at first he said he was moving up to 154. I don't think he's going to get the Barrios fight. So if they come out of this negotiation with no Stanionis fight, people are going to be looking like, what's going on, Eddie? What's going on, Boots? Hearn was also saying that he doesn't know what Top Rank do with Teo. I don't know what anyone does with Teofimo Lopez. Was he talking about buying out his contract? 26th of July, I believe the current contract will have ran its course. But why is he putting it up on social media? What's the buyout number? If you wanted that buyout number, you wouldn't be posting that on social media. You go find out what the buyout number is. It can't be that hard to find it out. But I don't think he's dead serious about that. You know, he can't get the fights at the purse value he thinks he's due. He can't do a Mayweather, buy out his top ranked contract and go on to be the highest paid athlete ever. I don't believe he can. He's not as good as Mayweather. He doesn't have the charisma. And if not charisma, people don't hate him enough that they want to pay to see him lose. People just dislike Teo, but they're not willing to pay for the pleasure of disliking him. And if his contract runs out in July, why would you buy out the contract? Why wouldn't you just wait until July? There's some technicality there. I could dig into what that is, but I'm just not going to bother. Could be a matching right, but who cares really? You know, and as for trying to produce receipts and who's telling the truth out of Bill Haney and Bob Arum and Teofimo and Devin, nah, can't be bothered. Life too short. And it looks like Devin is going to be fighting on BLK Prime. That's what they're saying next. They're saying Deontay Wilder's going to be on BLK Prime. Both him and Devin will be fighting stiffs. 2 reasons. They can't afford to pay out for elite opposition. They may be able to afford it, but they want to entice the likes of Devin and Wilder to fight on the platform. So most of the money is going to go to Devin and Wilder. not the opponent. Maybe Teo should go over to BLK Prime. It might be a little too black for him over there.
So more of the story is you called them two monkeys.
Exactly. More of the story is that.
Teo's an idiot. And did he really blow off the Subrel Matthias fight, which the fans were looking forward to? And apparently they were paying him way above his contract minimum.
You dizzy, bro.
It says here that Eddie Hearn questions Devin Haney's financial demands for his next fight. And he did turn down the Liam Paro fight, which Richardson Hitchens took early in December. And in the process, he took Liam Paro's belt with a 12-round decision. Now, Devin may have got that result against Ryan Garcia overturned to a no contest, but his stock has plummeted somewhat. It is what it is, yeah? That's why he's suing Ryan, I'm guessing. But whatever Matchroom were paying him for that Liam Paro fight, if he was serious about getting back in the title picture and getting some of his swag back, he should have took it. But obviously he's not confident right now to take a fight like that. He needs a tune-up, but he wants a lot of money for the tune-up. And this is American boxing, post-Showtime, post-HBO. Just a bag of nothing, really. So BLK Prime is back. Haven't heard from them since 2022 when Crawford fought Avanesyan. Looks like they're trying to pick up the few scraps that are out there on the American landscape. I've noticed the PBC ain't tried to pick up none of these disgruntled fighters. Haney, Wilder not going back there. They weren't paying him on time. And none of these guys are willing to bet on themselves, you know what I mean? Like, Wilder turned down a bag of over 100 million and a cracker undisputed to go bet on himself. And I still haven't seen no evidence of betting on himself. I mean, what the fuck does it really mean? I'm going to bet on myself when there's money on the table for you to fight already. Teo, go buy out your contract. Devin, you and your dad say you're promoters. Go promote your own show. Rather than Devin crying because Eddie Hearn didn't bid for the Sando Martin fight.
And as you were playing that Bill Haney soundbite,
yes, sir.
Here's my question to Bill. If you're saying that the pay-per-view numbers of your son's fights have been underreported or misrepresented, and you guys actually did more buys, that my son is a better draw than you think, we do make money, we are a pay-per-view attraction. Well, here's the question, though, Coach. Why doesn't DHP just promote off those numbers? Be the promoter. Put up the money. Control everything. So this way, you don't have to worry about the accounting. All the money and all the buys flow to you guys.
Perfect. Wilder, I'm sure he needs a payday like everyone else needs a payday. It is what it is. Black Prime, they'll probably give Wilder a nice bag for a safe opponent because there will be a lot of Americans who will want to see a familiar face like Wilder in the ring in a period where America is devoid of superstars, aren't they? And I ain't talking about Canelo, I'm talking about born and bred American fighters. FBA, if you like. Even if it's just a sugar rush that lasts a few minutes, it will raise the spirits of a few American boxing fans out there. Unless he loses, of course, which is not beyond the realms of possibility with this version of Deontay Wilder, trained by Malik Scott. If the Wilder fan base is still there, they haven't seen him fight in America for a long time. When was the Helenis fight? 2022? They'll be hoping that Wilder scores a big knockout. They will be hoping. But he hasn't been able to do it against the last two opponents he's fought, and they were elite. To be fair to him, he fought elite fighters. But if they get a gatekeeper, trial horse level fighter, and he can't produce, stick a fork in him.
Wow. Because he's done.
But if he does produce one of his trademark knockout finishes, it doesn't matter who it's against. That's going to trend for a little while. Because that's what people are used to seeing Deontay Wilder doing, is knocking people out. That's what BLK Prime are investing in. Devin, even though he's been an undisputed champion, he won't get the kind of money Deontay Wilder's getting on Black Prime. Because he doesn't bring the same level of excitement. I've got no problem with BLK Prime becoming the new version of the PBC, as long as they don't carry out the same practices that we've seen in the last few years from the PBC. And that's isolating themselves from doing dual promotions with rival promoters, the inactivity, the insistence on constant in-house fights. I have no problem with it. But yo, that's a long way off. Jury's still out.
Boxing.
Beats and rhymes.
No one can do it better.